to the tutorial for today. At least seeing you again on this channel shows that you are really serious about the journey to become a Flutter developer, and not just Flutter developer. Let me just say generally that. Alright, a quick recap of what we did in part 1 of this crash course in that we analyzed what variable is, what constant is, and we also spoke about different data types that we have. We spoke about int, double. We analyzed what's the difference between cost, variable, and final. We move further to also talk about records and maps, and along the line we spoke about list of dynamics or list of a particular data type, and also we discuss a conditional flow where we discuss if and else if, and the final one, which is else. Also along the line we also discuss switch. We discuss switch where we talk about different cases and the default value of a switch. We also talk about the increments, and finally, we also spoke about if a loop. We spoke about loop, and also we spoke about while loop, do while loop, and different types of loop that we have. So, and at the end of the day, before we round off, we spoke about not safety in that, which is a very powerful tool when it comes to that. All right, let's see. Today we are going to be discussing functions majorly, functions, and then in part 3 of this course we are going to be talking about OOP, object-oriented programming, which is the very big deal when it comes to that. That is an object-oriented code also, and every principle of OOP is followed in that. So please do well to subscribe to this channel, like and subscribe so that you can get notification for future updates. And it's very important, we are on a journey, and if you can subscribe into this journey, we'll get there together. All right, so let's just clear our chat and see what we have for today. So today we are going to be talking about future and asynchronous programming, but before that we are first talking about functions. Now remember, in the last class I said even this main, which is the first thing that is called in that, the main is actually a function. So what is a function? A function is just like a set of commands that your program is supposed to execute. So now whenever a Dart code wants to run, the first thing that is called is the main function, and this is a function on its own. So once this is called, it's a set of actions that it's just like setting an action for your code to do, and that is what function is majorly. So let's just see, declaring a function is so simple. This is a function being declared. Now in the function, first thing you see here is the return type, which is void. Void means it's not expecting anything to be returned. So the return type is void, and then the next one, which is the name of the function, followed by 2 parentheses, which is the data that the function is expecting, which can be passed alongside. And then open brackets, close brackets is where anything inside is what are the actions or the instructions that you want to be executed in that function. Basically that's just how it is. So let me just say, let's remove this. Do a printing job. Just as I said, this name is not necessary. I put a return type. You only put a return type whenever you want, when you intend to return something, And if you do not intend to return anything, you can put void. So that is why it means this one is not returning anything, it's just a set of action. That is why it's having void here. So now I only move out the action printing state, do a printing job, which is hello, print this, then copy this, call it inside here. Remember, we have semicolon that finish everything in this. So now let's run. Let's see the action still performed. So automatically that is what function is all about. Now there are some things that we need to declare functions. We've declared functions. So the next thing is operational parameters. Now let's say you want to pass a parameter string, now a name, comma int h. I think bool is verified. Now automatically what happened here is that this now has parameters. As I was saying, you can pass parameter. In this parenthesis here is where you pass the parameter. Now do a printing job, string name. When you are setting parameters, you set the data type and then the name and the parameter you want it to be. That's how you set parameters. Now what this parameter simply means is that anytime they are calling this function, you see that it's throwing up error here, you need to pass all these parameters, and then you now have access to use these parameters in the function here. So you can say hello name, you get you are dash yes would. So now we are no longer printing it different times again. So we are just printing you are age years old, and your verification status is, remember as I said in the last class that you can pass anything into a string. Let's pass this. Okay, so now it's impossible for us to run this code yet because we are yet to give these parameters. You see there, it's showing something now. It's expecting parameters. So now let me just so we are going to be passing the parameter there. So now I can say Afolabi age 32, comma is true. And now I've passed it. Now you see, let's see what it's going to print for me. So in this scenario, it's supposed to print hello Afolabi, you are 32 years old and your verification status is true. I don't know if you get now. Now automatically I've been able to pass parameters alongside. Now you can look, there can be scenarios where the parameters you want to pass is long, and you see I have to pass it. Now that I said name, age, variable, name, age, variable. Now imagine that what you want to pass is a long thing and you don't want to make mistake of, because if I put 32 first and Afolabi second, it's going to throw up an error. Let's try it so that you can get what I'm saying. It have to be in arrangements. Do you see? Because, however, if you want to be able to pass anyone first without making an error, then this is the scenario where you have to use what we call named required parentheses. Now, in doing this, is just to, let me copy this one out, and I put these brackets there. Now, immediately I put these brackets here, and I put this action, it's not going to allow me to go. Now, it's either I make it optional or I make it required. Now, if I make it optional, then it's going to allow me to, meaning that, okay, it's either you pass it or you do not pass it. I don't know if you get. However, if it is not optional, then it means you must put required. Now, putting required here, you see, name is allowed. It has allowed me. It has allowed me. So now this one is going to be optional. Let me make it optional so that you get. So you see that the error stopped showing. Now in this place, the way of where we use it, the way we use it will now be different. So we are going to say name, open brackets, for Labi. Now the beauty of this, now you see that whenever I'm passing and I'm calling a function, I need to know it's still required. One thing is still required, which is the age. So now, if I choose to, even though name was the first one, I can choose to put age first now without issue. It's going to allow me. The age is an integer, so 32. See, it allowed me. Now, everything is sorted now, even though I didn't pass the last one. The reason is because the last one is optional. If I run it now, what you're going to see for the last one is no. If I run it now, it's going to run, and what you're going to see for the age is no. It says, hello Afolabi, you are 32 years old and your verification status is no, which is not supposed to be. And that is where the no safety, which I spoke about the other time, comes in. Now, here. Now, this, whenever you want to do an action, like you want to call a function inside a string and you want it to show, that is where you use this double quoted, because I'm not using is verified straight. I need to put this double quotation. I will do, sorry, this curly brackets there. Now remember, I said that it is wrong for anything like no to show in the front end. As a front end developer, it is not right. So that is why you need to be very careful. Let's assume that I first has this now. It's possible that my code will crash here. Do you get? It's going to crash. Uncaught error, unexpected null value. That's why I was saying it that time, that you don't force out a value, because if it is no, it's going to crash the code. That is why I always say is that anytime you want to use this thing that I put here, be very, very careful. You don't just use it when something can be optional, when it can be no. No safety is very important as a front-end developer, and when it comes to that itself, there is something that I can always fall back on, which is the optional value. Just put this double column and then put false. Now, meaning that if by mistake they didn't provide this information and this information is no, fall back to the default value, which will be false. Automatically here, you will see what will happen. Hello Afolabi, you are 32 years old and your verification status is false. Now, there is something it falls back on. So that is where that non safety comes in. And we've treated declaring of variable, passing of parameters, and using of required also along the line. And then another thing which we need to discuss is return. Now let's say I want to return value. I'm returning string. It's going to throw up an error now because I need to return something. So let me copy this out. So now we are not printing here yet, but we are going to return this and put. Now what this simply means, anytime you put a type here, it means that you have to return something. You have to return something. Now returning something is you have to return that particular type. If this is int, now it's going to throw error. It's going to throw error because this is not int. A value string cannot be returned for a function of int. No. So it's going to be string. So now what do we do? Automatically what happened here is you can easily now say, you can declare a variable and say string what to print. Yeah, so before I forget, we have naming convention in that, and that is this gamma case where first letter is small and every other letter is capital, starts with capital. So you see small letter what to print. Sorry. So this is how you write it in that. So now automatically, do you see what happened here? What to print. This is returning a value, and what is returning is a string. Now a string, it allows us, let's say that I put int here, now it's going to throw an error. Yes, because this is returning string, not int, and this is expecting int. But now since it's string, you can now print, you can now do print so print what to print. So I don't know, do you get? So now let me just print it out for you. This wonderful, right? Yeah, exactly, that's what I was trying to show to you. Now you can do what seems impossible once you understand the concepts. It's so easy, it's so straightforward, and it's something that is not difficult. So while that one is printing, don't mind my network, we have what we call the arrow syntax and higher order functions, which I've already explained. So arrows, higher order functions is what we are going to be doing next after this. But arrow syntax, okay. Okay, hello Flaby artist. So yes, so then your verification status is false. It printed it out. So now arrow function. Now instead of us having all these chances of don't mind my statements, instead of us having all these open brackets, close brackets, but you just want to pass, you want to return something. Once you are returning something, automatically is as straightforward as that. So now instead of doing open brackets, close bracket, open curly brackets and close curly brackets, and you have to write return along the line, this is a way of returning it without difficulty. You don't have to put return. Once you put equal to and the front arrow, that's all. You are returning automatically, and it's still going to perform the same action. So that's it, still performing the same action. So finally, we are going to be looking at some higher order functions, which but before then, I want to take you through asynchronous programming in that. So please ensure you subscribe to this channel. Please subscribe, turn on your notification bell, and always get notified as I'm dropping videos, because this tutorial is not stopping at that. We are picking up that frog, which is the backend framework, and we are also going to pick up the front-end framework, which is Flutter itself. The curriculum is already available. I'm going to share it in the description below, and please ensure you subscribe. Thank you very much. And so we are going to continue in the order remaining now. Now let's continue. We are going to be looking at future awaits, async and awaits, and then we are going to be looking at stream. Now, what is asynchronous programming? Asynchronous programming is it's when an action is performed asynchronously. When asynchronously in the sense of one action finishes before another one starts, and with that, it follows in a trend. It uses the main thread. As a front-end developer, you understand this by the time we go into that Flutter properly. You know, your phone, when it's working, it runs on the main trend, and if the main trend is heavy and it's too much, you can actually span into another trend and open another trend. But however, before we go into isolates, which is another feature in that, the main trend is where the action is performed, and whenever you want something to finish before the other one starts, you have to use the keyword await. If you don't put await, all action performs straight without having to wait for the other to finish, because first one runs. But if an action will take time to finish, it's not going to finish instantly, but you need it to finish before the next one starts, then you use asynchronous programming properly, which is you have to use future response. The response will be a future response, and then it's going to await that one to finish before it starts. Let me give you an example. Let me just use this example we have in this thing here for both string and await. So first, see future string fetch data. Now async. Now you have to put this async here after the the parenthesis of the function. So async means that you are telling it that okay, this is an asynchronous function. Now it's going to return string, but it's a future type. Now await future delay is delaying with what 2 seconds before it returns data loaded. Now it's going to take time, which is going to take 2 seconds. It's not going to come instantly. It means it's waiting 2 seconds before it returns. But you want to use this value in main.dat. So let's use it. String data status equal to. Now, because we want to use fetch data, we can't use it straight like that. It's going to throw me an error. Now, why is it throwing me an error? This is a type of string, and I want to get fetch data. I can't. So tell me what to do. Remember what we did here? We put async here, right? So meaning we have to put await. That is, we are awaiting the data, but you cannot use await without asynchronous function. So now putting async here tells the function that okay, this is an asynchronous function where you await data. So now let's print it out. Now you'll see that the response is not going to come immediately. So let's count 1, 2 seconds. So it's going to load now. Once it has printed, it's going to load. So you see that it takes longer time. Normally the compilation happens and then it's supposed to load instantly. So you see what simply happened here is it awaits. So let's run it again. So 1, 2 print. So that's my network. Hello, data loaded. So you see that it took longer time. Because it's waited for 2 seconds before it returns the response. Now there's the other part is stream. Now you know your chats. Yes, your chats. The way you chat on WhatsApp is built with what we call WebSockets. And what WebSocket simply does is it returns a stream of data. Immediately notices a change in the data table. So it listens to changes and it returns it. So the same thing with stream. Now we want to return streams of integer number string. It's an asynchronous programming, yes, but we are returning string for ints. If int is equal to 1 and is less than 3, for every 1 second yield 1. But let's even make it 5, yield 1. So now let's just number string. This time around, let's see. Okay, so let's just call the number. We are going to await this. Give me a moment. So let's await this. Okay. Now, the reason why we are doing it this way is because I want to print the numbers out. But because it's a string or number, it's not one. A string is like a list that is not ending, that just returns a list of strings. So now what I'm simply doing here is I'm awaiting for the string. Now for var in this print, as the string is coming, just print it out. So that's simply what we are doing with streams. While that one is loading, let's just move to the next things. I'm going to be explaining collections and iterations in that. Basically the way things work in that. Let me quickly just give us a list of data we are going to be working with. You see strings 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the stream of data that is available. So now so while that is going, let's just clear this. You can see list of string, list of ints, result list 3, 5, 50, 70, 56, 90, 32. So automatically we have this. Okay, so now this a variable and this is the list of results. So now, so let me just say I want to arrange these results in a, so let's say result list dot you see there are a lot of functions that are available for you to use in a list, which you are going to be using a lot when you get to Flutter or when you're writing your Dart code. You just have to take your time, look at them one after the other, and see how you can work with them. You see the way it is? They are such a long list. So let me just do few of them, and I will show you the main ones, most of the sorts. So I want to sort this. So now what simply happens, what sort does is to sort the data. Let me print it out for you now so that you see what is there. After it has been sorted, automatically it's going to be in order. So that's it. See 3, 5, 12, 22 is sorted. So now let's do it this way. I don't want to see people that failed. So I can just say results list dot where, or I I need the student that first where first, let's just do where first, where elements is greater than 50. So what will simply happen now is, let me just say list of integer successful students. Successful students. So what simply happens is going to iterate around slide, and so this is returning an iteration which you need to set back to list. So it's going to become a list back now. Then we can now print successful students. So automatically what will be returned to you will be only people that have 50. You will see the list is going to reduce greatly. Can you see? So if there's any time you want to perform an action, you want to pick something out by itself, that's why you use where this, and you want to return a new list that fulfills the condition. So what this where is doing is going to iterate all through the list, and we check which one fulfills this function. And once it sees the one that fulfills the function, which is true on element is greater than this, anyone that is true, it returns it. It keeps it and return a new iteration. And then you now convert the iteration to lists. That is why we have two lists here. Do you get? So basically there are lots. The looping, it loops through the collection, it checks it where we have reduced, we have different functions. So you see, for you to know all the ones that are existing, you take your time to check. So if you want to add to the list, is you use that add all. If you want to add a new list to the list, let's just say does add now is 0, so that you will know that there's somebody that's caused 0. Now let's see if it's going to print, if the list is going to have, you know that the 0 is not here before, it's not in the declared value. Let's see if we are going to have 0 in that list. Now because we did not specify the index, it's going to place it at the last, but let's assume that we want it to place it at the first. You say add it's going to bring up. So let's see, it's supposed to do add at. Okay, insert. So you see remove at here. Now if you want to remove, there's remove at, there's remove last, remove range, remove where. So this remove where is going to remove where the function, that's the one, anywhere the condition you wrote is true, it removes it. Retain where, retain is okay, remove everything that in this thing, remove it, but retain where this function is true, every other one remove it. So basically single where you want to return a single one, take a while. So add or insert at, that's what we're supposed to use for this one. Insert at, and everything one after the other like that. You can just take your time to look through and see how well you can do this. So that's basically all about the functions and everything. So the next class we are going to be having is going to be OOP, and now we want you to please subscribe to this channel so that you can receive the notification once the lecture is out. And we are after OOP, that is which will be concluding that framework itself. Hope it will be the last part of it. And once we've concluded on that, then we'll now start Flutter in full. Also, if you are watching this video because of backend, we are going to be starting that frog along the line. So please take your time, go through the tutorial, watch it over and over again, and if you have questions, ask in the comments